I want to play some metal with this Epiphone Les Paul Custom that I rented. We're going to be using 3 different amps in 3 different tunings, so check out the chapter markers down below. The signal chain is also listed in the description. If you're curious, I'm also using 10 to 46 gauge strings. But enough talking, let's get after it. Alright, so now that we've heard the 3 metal sound samples, let's talk about this guitar, because to be honest, you came here to listen to a little bit of metal and maybe get a little bit of information on this guitar. So we're not necessarily going to talk about specs. I did a full review that you can go take a look at. I go over specs and go over a whole bunch of different sounds. But I do want to talk about this guitar here because I'm used to this guitar. And this guitar here is basically an extension of me. So when it comes to talking about this guitar, I have to compare it to this guitar. So this is a Gibson Les Paul Custom. It's the Showcase Edition. It's got the little badging on the back. And it's from 1988. It originally came with EMG 8185 pickups. They were hardwired. They're not the quick connect or anything like that. But I have since replaced it with the 500T and the 496R, I think it is. And the neck on here is the medium C shape, which personally, it's one of my favorites. I usually say it's either medium C or the baseball bat chunkiness. So that's generally why for Les Paul Customs, I like the generic custom that comes with the medium C or the like 57 style that has the chunk neck. The Epiphone here has a slim taper neck, which is not uncomfortable at all. It is my 3rd favorite neck, but I think that it's throwing me off a little. That does not mean that I think that this is a bad guitar. This is a fantastic guitar. So far, it is the best Epiphone that I've played, and so far, it's the only Epiphone that I'm just about completely bonding with. And I do have to say, when I was a younger Ryan, like around 14, and I used to get the, Epiphone and Gibson catalogs from the music stores. Every time I would turn the pages and look in the catalog for Epiphone, I would always go to look at the Explorers, because I always wanted an Explorer when I was younger. And I would stop and stare and dream about this guitar. Obviously, the specs and everything were a little different. They've definitely come a long way. It's a little nicer now, or definitely a lot nicer now. But I would always look at the Ebony and Gold Les Paul Customs, and I always wanted it. And I don't feel bad that the Gibson Les Paul Custom that I own is red and not black, but after playing this, it makes me want to get a second Gibson Les Paul Custom. But does this feel like a Gibson? Almost. It almost does. It's not like it's like I'm playing it and I'm like, ooh, you're not a Gibson, you're bad. It's just spec-wise, some of the things are throwing me off. The body here it feels like a pancake body. And I think the reasoning behind that is that it's just slightly a few millimeters thinner than the Gibson Les Paul Custom, or at least the one that I own. It's not as heavy, so I don't know if they're using just different stocks of wood. And the neck shape here is definitely throwing me off, even though I do, again, love slim taper necks. Another thing that I'm noticing, and I think it's just psychosomatic. So I do like to say that there's no like cosmetic issues with this or anything like that. Frets are very clean, very nice. They're not sharp at all. And the frets are well leveled. Now when I say that, it's a little weird because to me, from the 12th fret to the 22nd fret, it feels like I don't understand what it is. So when you're looking at frets, there's a ever so slight crown in it, right? That's the radius. It just feels like from the 12th to the 22nd fret, the radius is much different, but there's nothing that's really throwing the frets off. I think it's just in my mind, but it just feels and looks a little weird when I'm looking down at it. The carve here is also a little off. It's not as pronounced as the Gibson carve on the carved maple top. To be honest, I don't think that matters whatsoever. And it is definitely good to keep a little bit of separation from the Epiphone version and the Gibson version, at least as far as Epiphone is concerned. And also, I have to note that these pickups are freaking awesome. The ProBucker 3 and the ProBucker 2, they're it's hard to say. They have that like a slight vintage feel to them, which is nice. I prefer a less hot pickup. Hotter pickups are definitely nice. They have their place, they can do a lot, but I do find myself gravitating a little bit more to more vintage style pickups where it's not as hot and they're very accurate when it comes to getting certain tones, and they just make the amp pop a little more, I think. So this is a fantastic guitar whether you're playing metal or whether you're playing anything else, but there's really nothing like playing a Les Paul Custom with a bit of chunk and metal going. So it's awesome. Would I buy one? No, because there's certain things that I'm missing when I'm playing this guitar. Do I fault anyone for buying one of these? Absolutely not. Go and do it. This is awesome. But this is just making me want to get a second Gibson Les Paul Custom, this time in Ebony, so I can, make 14-year-old Ryan, feel a little more fulfilled. That's horrible. Although the 57 Les Paul standard gold top is also on the list. Thanks for watching.